Why do we not hear any convincing evidence of extraterrestrial life? That is the ultimate question behind the Fermi Paradox. If the universe is so vast, if it's billions of years old, and it has so many Earth-like planets out there, why haven't we heard or seen any signs of aliens yet? To answer this famous paradox, scientists have put forward a number of unique and interesting hypotheses that you are going to love. One of them is the zoo hypothesis, and another one is the laboratory hypothesis. In this video, we will be discussing both of these two hypotheses. So let's get started. The first hypothesis is the zoo hypothesis. Scientists say that just like how humans keep animals in zoos for their amusement, some advanced alien civilizations may also be keeping our Earth in their zoo. They might be observing our evolution from afar, without interfering with our planet or its inhabitants. Now, what's really interesting here is that this hypothesis was put forward by John A. Wheeler in 1980, and later popularized by the astrophysicist Paul Davies. Wheeler even went on to propose that all of the planets in the universe were created by an advanced alien species as parts of their cosmic zoo. However, unlike Wheeler, Davies believed that only Earth is unique, and the rest of the planets are barren and lifeless. In Davies' zoo hypothesis, intelligent alien species keeps tabs on us, just like we watch animals in a zoo. Furthermore, he says that these aliens must be highly advanced because they would have already visited Earth, but chose not to reveal themselves. According to Davies, the most compelling piece of evidence in favor of this hypothesis is the exact chemical composition of our solar system. If the Big Bang theory is true, then there should have been a variety of elements in our solar system. But when scientists actually looked into the matter, they found that majority of the matter is hydrogen and helium, with only trace amounts of heavier elements. And since life as we know it requires these heavier elements, this makes our solar system very unique. Davies concluded that this suggests that our solar system was carefully designed and assembled by some unknown intelligence. However, there's also a more mundane explanation for this phenomenon. According to scientists at NASA, it's perfectly reasonable to expect that most planetary systems would mostly consist of hydrogen and helium, since these are the most common elements in the universe. The reason why our solar system seems so unique is that we are biased. We expect life to need certain elements, so we search for those elements and solar systems that satisfy our expectations. Now, you may also wonder about the Fermi Paradox. If these advanced civilizations exist and are watching us, then why don't they contact us? Well, Davies believed that these species could be observing us from a distance because they know that we are potentially dangerous. He gave the example of chimpanzees, saying that they wouldn't be able to comprehend the implications of a chimpanzee revolution, but they would still choose to keep a close eye on it. Therefore, the zoo hypothesis suggests that these alien species are keeping an eye on us, but they aren't directly interacting with us because they want to preserve our natural evolution. Some scientists also believe that they could be waiting for us to reach a certain level of development before making contact. As far as testability goes, this hypothesis isn't particularly strong. There's no way to prove or disprove the zoo hypothesis. It's similar to the argument of a watch in the desert. There's a famous thought experiment where a traveler finds an intricate watch in the middle of the desert. They then reason that someone must have put it there because it's unlikely to have appeared naturally. However, this argument doesn't work in reverse. Just because something appears well designed doesn't necessarily mean that it's been deliberately placed there. Therefore, just because our solar system appears to be suitable for life doesn't necessarily mean that it was put there by aliens. The next hypothesis is the laboratory hypothesis. This hypothesis proposes that our universe could be nothing but an experiment performed by a super advanced alien species. In fact, this idea dates back to ancient Greece. According to a myth, the philosopher Anaximander believed that the world could be nothing but an infinite cylinder surrounded by a firmament that was enclosed on all sides. He even believed that this cylinder was floating in mid-air inside a larger container. But apart from myths and legends, the laboratory hypothesis first appeared in modern science in the 1930s. The scientist and science fiction author Isaac Asimov proposed that the universe could be a closed system, a kind of container used by hyper-advanced aliens to conduct experiments. Asimov theorized that these aliens had such a good understanding of physics that they could manipulate the fundamental forces of nature to create a self-contained micro-universe that obeyed the laws of physics. This idea was then expanded upon by others over the years. For instance, in 1974, the physicist Paul S. W. Hawkins proposed that the universe could be nothing but a huge computer simulation created by a hyper-advanced civilization. More recently, in 2010, the theoretical physicist Max Tegmark suggested that our universe could be nothing but a three-dimensional hologram created by observers who exist in higher dimensions. So how does the laboratory hypothesis help explain the Fermi Paradox? Well, according to this hypothesis, there shouldn't be any other civilizations in the universe because ours is just an experiment. If that's true, then it means that there are no other intelligent species to colonize other planets, develop technology, go to war, or make a lot of noise. This would explain why we haven't heard any convincing evidence of extraterrestrial life yet. However, there's a major problem with this hypothesis. Like the zoo hypothesis, the laboratory hypothesis is almost impossible to test. The idea that our universe is a simulation is currently popular in some circles, but it lacks scientific rigor. The simulation hypothesis can't be tested, and therefore it isn't considered a valid scientific hypothesis. However, that hasn't stopped some scientists from trying to find flaws in it. For example, one scientist has pointed out that if our universe is a simulation, then the laws of physics would have to be altered whenever the simulators want to change something. This would introduce a lot of noise into the simulation, and it would make things unpredictable. However, supporters of the simulation hypothesis argue that this is just a misunderstanding of how simulations work. They say that the laws of physics would only have to be altered if the simulators wanted to change something big, like adding a new star to the sky or creating a black hole. But small changes wouldn't affect the simulation, so people living in this universe would still experience everyday physics. Another issue with the laboratory hypothesis is that it doesn't explain where the aliens went. If we are nothing but an experiment, then where did the scientists go? Did they abandon their experiment, or did they die? The Great Filter hypothesis attempts to answer this question. According to this hypothesis, there is some barrier to advancing that prevents civilizations from becoming like us, or further. Once a civilization reaches this barrier, they either destroy themselves or they stop advancing. This would explain why we haven't heard any convincing evidence of extraterrestrial life yet. However, there's no evidence to support the Great Filter hypothesis. In fact, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that civilizations could advance beyond us. For example, there are many stars in the universe that are much bigger than our sun. This means that there are many solar systems that could support life for billions of years. So it's unlikely that we are the only planet with life. Now, what do you think about the zoo hypothesis and the laboratory hypothesis? Do you think we are being watched by an alien species, or are we just a small fish in a big pond? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.